Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's episode, we're going to be looking into session access and route protection using Nuxt server-side routes. Before we get too deep into this, I want to change a few things. First thing I want to do is just kind of reconfigure. Right now I only have the nav bar viewable if you're logged in. I realize this isn't actually how I want it to be set up. So I'm actually going to take this out of the app, go into navbar, and let's bring this back in, status. Once I'm down here, I can just check if login, show the sign out button. Otherwise, I'll render a completely different button, which is our GitHub login. I'm going to put a VLS on there. So just to show you. So now that means we can see the nav bar even when we're logged out. Before, that wasn't the case. So there's one more thing I want to do before we get into this is I want to go into our index, and if you remember our login page, we defined this meta to allow us to navigate it when we're not logged in. And we said authenticated only is true. We're going to want a similar behavior on our home page. And now, voila, we can view home even when we're logged out. And just to give you a quick look through, we can still click this, log in, and now we can see protected. But when we sign out, we're able to go back to home. Great. Now that we got that out of the way, I want to show you a server route. And so we're going to build out, let's do it API. And we're going to just call this me.get.ts. And so we're going to do export default event handler. It's just like any other Nuxt server route. And we're going to handle an async event. And so initially what we're going to be doing is we're going to get our session, and Nuxt Auth provides this getServerSession. And then what we'll do with this getter is pass our H3 event. Now, I just want to show you what this is. So let's console.log session, and then let's watch our server. And now that we have our session, we just have to call this endpoint. So remember, it's at me.get. So we'll just say const data is equal to useFetch. Let's do a wait, useFetch, and then API/me. And now we'll just do it in a pre-tag. We'll render data. So when we save that, let's go home. Oh, the reason I'm not getting anything on the front end is because I'm not returning anything. Okay, so we're actually going to return session here, and then now we're going to save it in data and pass it over to the front end. And here's the data that we see. We'll close our DevTools for now. We see it has a user object with the name, email, and image, as well as the expiration of the session token. Now, you may be wondering where I got this data, and it's actually provided by GitHub's OAuth. And if you can see, that's my GitHub avatar. So it's pretty neat. But we can do that with useSession as well. And so why are we moving this over to the backend? Backend has access to our database, for example. Obviously, right now we don't have a database, so I'm going to just define one here. And let's just call this user. In a real application, you would have a database here, but for now, I think this kind of suffices. And so let's imagine we did a get response against our database, and we just said get all users. And this is what it returned. We'll just say 0, or 1 to 1994, sure. And so this is me. This is not me. So what we can do here is we can actually check, 1, is the user logged in? If they're not, let's just return status of, let's say, unauthenticated. But if they are logged in, we're gonna do some database. Remember, users here is a simulation of our database. And we're gonna find within this users, const users.find of user. So we're gonna check against the email that's attached to our session, because this email will only appear according to the session. So it should be a unique identifier because it's connected to your GitHub account. And so each user that logs in will have a different email. So now we can return. And in this scenario, I don't want to return everything here. Specifically, I don't want to return the ID. I want to just return, let's do email. And we'll say user dot email, right? Why isn't it like that? Okay, user.email, and then we can also do birthday. And so let's do user.birthday. Okay, great. So that's me. And now we should see that response. So let's do a refresh here. Oh, no, looks like something went wrong. This is what went wrong. That's why we need real data. But again, this is just simulation. So now we are replicating database interactions here, which is pretty cool. And now, because it's checking whether or not I have a session token, whether or not I'm logged in, essentially, if I click sign out here, that's all you get. Status unauthenticated. Versus when I'm logged in, I'll see my data again. Pretty neat. I think soon we're going to start playing with Prisma, as well as either SQLite or Postgres, so we can truly get that full stack experience. But I hope you're able to see that we're pretty much there. And Nuxt Auth gives us plenty of flexibility and freedom to verify that we're logged in, both on the front end and the back end. So hope you learned something here, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment. Take care.